Well, welcome everyone to our virtual wine tasting event tonight. We're actually going to be doing a little bit of an introduction to a couple people I've been grateful to be connected with. I'll introduce them here shortly. One, I'll tell you who I am. My name is Kyle Palmer. I am in the Rochester, New York area, and I run a small business here. And I was lucky enough to be nominated for a program here in the Rochester area ran by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of Western New York called the Rochester's Finest Program. I took it on as more of a challenge, one, because I'm still obviously learning how to fundraise and how I can really make an impact in my local communities and how many people I can help. And doing that, one thing I realized is I knew nothing about cystic fibrosis. And that's just me being transparent, me being upfront with you. So I took it as a challenge that I needed to learn. So I needed to find the resources and find the information and connect with the right people in order to continue to educate myself about those who are living with cystic fibrosis and how important it is for us to find a cure. In doing that, I was able to connect with Kyle Shoehart here, and I will introduce him here in a minute too. But yeah, so just to kind of give you an idea, tonight, the purpose of tonight's event is that we're continuing to bring awareness and fundraise to help find a cure for cystic fibrosis, those living with cystic fibrosis, and at the same time, providing resources to those that may be caregivers of those that are living with cystic fibrosis and patients as well. So we want to continue to bring awareness throughout the rest of this month, and we actually have another event which we hope you're excited for too. If you're here in the local Rochester area, it's on October 8th. We are having an in-person wine tasting event at HD Hair, which is at 2286 East Main Street here in Rochester, New York. So we are extremely excited to see all of you in person. It's gonna be a great time. We're gonna have wine, we're gonna have smiles, we're gonna have laughs, we're gonna have stories told, which we really think that a lot of people will get a lot from. So we're excited to see you on October 8th, and we're really looking forward to meeting you in person. So with all that being said, I want to introduce Amy Johnson, which I'm again very thankful to have been connected with on LinkedIn. We connected. We were just talking here between the three of us, and we connected prior to me being nominated for the Rochester's Finest program. And sometimes you never really know why you make connections and what the purpose of it is. You always want to help each other out. Thankful enough, obviously as I found opportunity, I kept Amy top of mind, knowing that she could definitely help me in my venture to raise money for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and us thinking of some events that we could do together, including the virtual wine tasting and the in-person wine tasting. So we're excited to share those events with you and for you to be a part of those. So again, thank you so much, Amy, for joining again tonight. I know we've had a couple sessions in the past. So again, I'm so thankful to have been connected with you, and really you've been great through this partnership of working together and how we manage getting people involved in, just opening up who WineHope is to people, and the purpose of obviously, the fundraiser for cystic fibrosis. So with that being said, I'm going to let you take the wheel here and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about ONEHOPE Wine and the causes and the purpose of and the mission of their organization. So take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle, for that amazing introduction. Really excited to share the screen with both Kyles this evening, and a pleasure to meet Kyle for the first time too. So I'm Amy Johnson. I'm with ONEHOPE Winery, and I've been with the company now for 2 years. I'm a director with them, and I'm really honored and grateful to have found a company whose main purpose and passion is to nourish the future. I am a school teacher by day for 23 years, and knew that there was something bigger. As much as teaching is the noblest profession in the world, I feel like I found my match with ONEHOPE as well. So I'm not just influencing the students in my community that I've been blessed to have over the last 23 years, but my influence now is growing, and that's all because of ONEHOPE. So ONEHOPE Winery is a winery that was built in Napa Valley, and their vision was to make sure that every wine that they produced gave back to charity. And I am very happy to say that in their tenure as a business, we've given back over $7.2 million to charities, and that number is 25,000 charities in our country. And we get to give back to 5 main pillars. And these are near and dear to my heart, and it certainly represents how OneHope is nourishing the future, because those 4 pillars for OneHope Foundation is health, hunger, clean water, and education. And that 5th pillar that we get to do as entrepreneurs like myself is to give back to local charities. And that's why the 3 of us are sitting together on this screen. Kyle had his purpose of raising money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. The other Kyle has a very personal connection to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and I'm very pleased to have him here to tell his story as well. So the fact that the 3 of us are here, being able to share wine and give hope to all of the families who have been affected by cystic fibrosis, so we can raise awareness, we can find a cure. Every penny, every dollar helps. If you are ever involved in any sort of fundraising on any level, we know that truly a couple of dollars, $5, $20, every penny makes such a difference. And that's where we get to these amazing numbers like $7.3 million that end up getting donated. Cystic Fibrosis Foundation being one of 25,000 charities that are the recipients of this money. So this is what fills my cup. I love that this is how I get to spend my days outside of the classroom and networking with like-minded individuals in different parts of the state, different parts of the country, who want to do good, who want to make an impact, who want to make people's lives better. And I'm just so blessed and fortunate to have had connections with both of you. I am really excited about our wine tasting next weekend. Nothing better than coming around a table for a cause that is meaningful to so many, and get to celebrate that, do good, taste great wine. So I'm just so grateful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely thank you for sharing that. OneHope has been, like I said, working with you has really been a pleasure, and helping get these events organized. And I can't tell you enough, I'm excited about next week. A lot of rave around the event next week. So we're looking forward to seeing a lot of you there. So yeah, so like I said, Kyle and I actually became connected through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So I'm excited to introduce him as well. As a part of the Rochester's Finest program, the great thing is, as I mentioned before, I had no direct affiliation with anyone that was living with cystic fibrosis, was a caregiver of someone with cystic fibrosis. As far as I knew, right? I don't think people walking around saying, hey, listen, I have cystic fibrosis, or hey, listen, I care for someone that has cystic fibrosis. So I can't say that I have not necessarily been around someone or been affiliated. I just never heard of it. No one ever mentioned it to me. It was something that maybe they kept close to themselves and they weren't willing to share, and that's perfectly fine, right? We just want to make sure that we're always here to lend our hand and provide any resources that we possibly can to be able to do that. But in getting connected with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and part of the Rochester's Finest program, is they connected me with Kyle because they knew that I didn't have a personal connection. So it was important for me to have coffee with Kyle, right? Kyle and I had coffee here in Rochester, and he shared his story and what impact the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has really made in his life and his family's life. So with that being said, I'm not going to spoil all the fun and give Kyle's story away. So I'm going to let you take it from here. So everyone, this is Kyle Shoehart, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. And thanks, Amy, for joining us today. Super excited to be here. When I first met Kyle over coffee, it was probably about a month and a half ago, and I was very impressed by his drive to do something good for the community just recently moving here, so it's cool to have somebody step up like that and want to do good for the local charities and families locally. So when I sat down with him, I basically ran him through my story and my experience with CF, and that's what I'd like to do with you guys here today. And I hope that you guys will all join him and Amy on October 8th. That should be a really good event. I unfortunately will be out of town, but I look forward to hearing all the stories afterwards. So I'm 27 years old. I was born in 1994, right here in Rochester. And when I was first born, my parents didn't know that there was anything wrong with me. Prenatal screening wasn't really a thing when I was a baby, or before I was a baby, rather. I was not healthy when I was born. I was very skinny. I wasn't holding down food. Um, I had my appendix taken out pretty much right after birth. And we could really figure out what was going on. So after a few days, I was able to go home from the hospital, and my parents were told to just take extra good care of him, keep an eye on him, the regular. I was just a sick baby. I'd be okay. So 2 years like that, different pediatricians, different opinions, and nobody could really figure out what was going on. I ended up going to Pittsburgh Pediatrics, and the doctor there took one look at me and said he needs to go for a sweat test. A sweat test back in the day was how they diagnosed people with CF. They'll still run that now if they can't tell that a baby has CF before, like during prenatal screening, because there's still that specific, there's 1,700 different mutations of CF. So if you don't have one of the well-known ones, it doesn't always show up on a screening. So you go for a sweat test, and sure enough, my sweat test proved to be that I was cystic fibrosis positive with one of the well-known mutations, which is a double delta F508. So what that meant was that I was sick, and I was going to be sick the rest of my life, unfortunately. My parents were told that I'd probably make it to 18, and then that would be it. So from a young age, I was taught rather to be open about the disease, because I wasn't really normal. I didn't fit in with kids my age. I was much smaller. CF is a genetic disease that affects your lungs. It makes your mucus like extra thick and sticky, so breathing becomes difficult, but it also affects your pancreas, your kidneys. Food doesn't flow through you the way it's supposed to, so you're very malnourished. So there was a lot of things where I just didn't fit in with kids. Super small. I was always 20 pounds underweight. During the winter season, I was always sick, and I would spend 2 to 3 weeks in the hospital a year with just different ailments, or what we call tune-ups. So you spend 2 weeks in the hospital with IV antibiotics trying to get yourself back up to shape so you can spend the next spring doing kid stuff and then go back in the hospital, basically. On top of that, CF with the mucus, it clogs up in your nose and you get polyps. So I've had probably 12 or 13 different sinus surgeries. All of those needed to be preceded by those hospital stays because they want their lungs as good as they can be before they put anesthetic down there. So that was my growing up with CF. I was very involved in fundraising. I started in kindergarten. We sold the little shoes for the walk that you'd write your name on. I sold them to all my classmates, and they filled the halls at the school with those. And then in 2002, when I was 8 years old, I became what we call an ambassador of hope for one of the local national foundation events, which was an Amerks at your service dinner. So the local hockey team would come and serve you dinner. They would make tips for all the stuff that they did for that night, and that would all go back to the national foundation, which has been a huge help over the last few years in getting myself back to being as healthy as I am now. When I met with Kyle for the first time, I told him, if you had met me 2 years ago, you would have known I had CF. Right now, you can't really tell if you see me on the streets. I'm 27, I weigh 180 pounds. I don't cough. I don't have to catch my breath after going through all this rambling I feel like I'm doing right now, trying to give you guys my story. But about 2 years ago, I would have gotten through a couple of sentences and just hacked up a lung. I was 120 pounds, between 120 and 135. You could see the difference in my face. The CF Foundation has worked tirelessly in coming up with different treatments, different medications to keep you healthy, So 3 years ago, they came out with this new vest so we wear a vest that used to be hooked up to a machine that would sit right in your bedroom floor. It was like this big, it was heavy, and it shakes your lungs to loosen up the mucus so you could cough it out. 3 years ago, they came up with one that you could walk around with. You could put a shirt over it and go on with your daily activities, So we've constantly been playing with technology and making it better and better. But most recently, 2 years ago, they came out with a new treatment. It's a CFTCRM, which is a cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator modulator, which in layman's terms, it fixes the broken protein in your body. So I was able to get on that 2 years ago, and within 3 weeks of being on this drug called Trikafta, it basically turned my health around for a 180. I've, knock on wood, I've been so healthy since. I haven't had a hospital stay since. I'm keeping weight. I haven't had a major illness since I got on this drug. And it's great, but it only helps certain strains of the disease. So obviously with the double delta F508 that I have, it's one of the most common strains of CF. So a lot of people like me with this can take this drug. The downside is it only works with 107 of the other 1,700 mutations. So you've got 30,000 people in the USA, 70,000 people worldwide living with CF. They don't all have one of these 177 copies of CF, right? So working on now is different protein fixers for all those different strains. That's why fundraising is still so important for the CF Foundation, because they haven't helped everybody. I've been one of the very few lucky cases that has been helped, and I've seen my life turn around, and I want to see that for everybody else. Over the past 5 years, I've lost 8 or 9 of my very close friends here in Rochester to this disease. And I'd say 6 out of those 9 weren't even eligible for this drug anyway. I've got friends here that are still alive that are fighting for their lives because they're not eligible for this drug. So the main thing that we can do is continue to do this fundraising. Like I said, when I was born, my parents thought I would be lucky to make it to 18. Then when I hit 18, the life expectancy was updated to 37 and a half years. Most recently with these new updates and drugs. And I think now that Trikafta has been out for 5 years, I've been on it too, they re-update that, we're probably looking 60s or 70s. So we're finally going to have a normal lifespan. But again, it's not for everybody, and that's what we want. We want to see that for everyone, if not just a cure in general.
Yeah, and so, I think, yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, man.
No, that's okay.
I think as I've continued to learn and educate myself and hear stories like yours, one of the most, one of the biggest things that kind of like stood out to me was that, yeah, for someone young, like, hey, listen, I don't expect to live past 18 or, 36 and a half. You're not really thinking far enough into the future, right? Because there's really like, you're limited. You can only see, like, when everyone talks about retirement, that's not even something that's even in your mind. Like, that's not something that you would even plan for. And now, obviously, due to the continued research by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and then coming out with new medicines and new drugs and new therapies that can, help extend that lifespan for the average patient. Now that's a whole new life that they have to think about. They've been planning to like potentially die by 36, and they're like, hey, listen, you got to save money to make it to make it to 60, if you get to 65, because obviously the research is going to continue to go on, right? Because if by the time they get to 65, they're like, hey, listen, we've come out with new drugs that has extended your life even longer. So it's for me, it was like, how do these people even plan ahead? Like, hey, listen, you made it 37. Well, we just extended your lifespan to 65. Like, well, I'm not prepared for that. I'm like, I haven't saved any money. Like, I haven't even planned to live this far. So it was really just eye-opening for me in that perspective. And that's probably just because I spend my time in finance. But so I just, that's one of the things that stood out to me. Obviously you mentioned about the vest that you have to wear. Can you maybe like share a little bit about a day in the life, right? Maybe pre-Trikafta and then kind of post-Trikafta now, because I'm sure that's a huge dynamic shift for you, living that lifestyle now versus pre-Trikafta, and everything started to look a little bit different for you.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, just to touch on what you were just talking about, I think when we first sat down to coffee, that was one of the first things I brought up is at 25, I hadn't saved a dime for retirement or anything else really, because I figured I got 10 or 12 years left, maybe, so right. I was spending my money as quick as I was making it. I just opened up a Roth IRA a few months ago. I'm investing in a 401k, and it's like just a whole different world that I wish I had started 5 or 6 years ago. So it's funny that you just mentioned that, because that is one of the biggest changes for me. I was like, wow, I really have to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
So a day in the life pre-Trikafta was pretty interesting. So I used to work in a warehouse. I'd have to be there by 7. So these meds that we did in the morning, the vest is a 20 to 40 minute vest along with 2 inhaled antibiotics. So that's about 20 minutes a piece. So you get your 40 there sitting with the vest on, just shaking and breathing it out of a tube, the inhaled antibiotics. So I'd get up at about 4:45, 5 o'clock. And I'd do that. I'd go shower, whatever, make a little bit of breakfast. With breakfast comes the whole pills. So multivitamins, regular vitamins that everybody takes. We had to take a pill. I still am on this one pill called Creon. It's it's a enzyme. So it breaks down fats, proteins, and sugars. Because like I said, our pancreases are blocked. So it's hard to break down food the correct way. So we take these every time before we eat, and it helps everything flow through like it's supposed to and make sure that you absorb all the nutrients that you're supposed to. So 5 pills with a meal, 4 with a snack. Start my morning with that. And then I'm on azithromycin, so 1 pill. It's like a horse-sized pill. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those. They're huge.
Yeah. Not signing up for that one.
Yeah, no, not worth it. And then anytime I was sick, it'd be any kind of antibiotic. I feel like I was always on an antibiotic throughout my life, so there was something always cycling through those extras. So by the end of the day, I'd take probably 35 to 40 pills a day just to eat and digest food, and then another 5 or 6 in daily medication.
And that's not even, if I remember correctly, right? Just from what I've been able to read and kind of listen to and learn, it's not a standard like 3,500 calorie day for you.
Correct. So breakfast was always a production, which even though I'm at a healthy weight now, it still is a production here at my house. I like to make pancakes, bacon, eggs, every morning. But that would be like the every morning deal, or like some kind of hash, that kind of thing. And then on top of that, nutritional supplements too. I had to keep nutritional supplements like Booster Ensure shakes here all the time to keep weight on. I drink probably 3 of those a day, which that's 1,200 calories right there. I was probably getting, I'd say 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day. Wow. Just to keep a 120-pound weight. So what the issue is when you're coughing all day long, you're just burning calories constantly. So you can't keep any of that in, and it's so much energy. And then when you're sick, it's even worse because you're coughing even more, and you just can't. Literally, coughing burns way more energy and calories than anybody can even imagine. So on top of that 6,000 calorie diet, I was still 120 pounds because I just wasn't keeping any of it retained. So after that, I'd go to work, do my normal. Weeks that I was really sick, I would bring that vest to work, and on lunch, I would vest again for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever lunch was. Then I'd have to find time to eat my lunch during the day. At the end of the day, I'd go home. Again, you got to either make a dinner, or growing up, we were always told fast food doesn't hurt a CFer because you needed all the calories, you needed all the salt because we sweat salt excessively. So I'd eat, I'd swing through McDonald's, or I'd make a really big dinner, and then it's back to the vesting and the inhaled antibiotics again. Couple puffs of an inhaler in the day to keep the lungs open. So it was just constantly thinking about what's the next treatment that's going to happen,
It's like you're just running down a checklist.
Literally every morning, and throughout the day, you're just checking stuff off.
Just a repetitive checklist that just starts over the next day.
Exactly. Yep. And you can't run away from it. I tried that in my teen years, and it just made me sicker. So Again, one of those things that you think back on, you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
That's every teenager.
Right. Exactly. Post-Trikafta has been a completely different story. Because this is a National CF Foundation thing, I'm not supposed to preach that I've been able to drop all of my airway clearance, the vest, the inhaled steroid antibiotics, all that. But this med has had me so healthy that I'm able to go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and put in like a regular hard workout, which I feel like is doing much more for me than the vesting and any of those ever did. Because I finally have the energy to do that and work my body the right way, So I've been able to drop all my airway clearance. They're just starting now to run studies on all that, and people on Trikafta, whether this is something they can actually give up for life, or if it's something they need to do when they're sick, or if it's something they should actually stay on to see how high they can get their lungs to function. Luckily, I've been healthy enough to just drop it completely. Sounds weird to say, but I'm a very busy person. So like if I'm staying this healthy, I feel like it's okay to drop it because it takes a lot of time out of your day to do all those things. Mm-hmm. As far as the medications go, though, I'm still on azithromycin 3 times a week. So the big horse pill is still a thing. Then the addition of Trikafta, it's 3 extra pills a day, which at this point feels like nothing because it's keeping me so healthy. And then the meds before I eat. So, but the hours of airway clearance are completely gone.
So you're not spending time with the vest,
Correct. Yep.
right? Yep.
Yep. Spending time collecting dust in the corner now.
just in the event that you need to go back to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and like I said, I've been hospital free for 2 going on 3 years now.
Oh, nice. So you don't have to do the 2 weeks in the hospital anymore to get your tune-ups, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, like I said, the work by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and the continued research and helping with these, come out with these drugs has been super impactful, as you just stated, for your life. So it's great to hear. What else can you mention that that the cystic fibrosis has provided to you that has been of use for your life, resources that may have been helpful for your family to help deal with it? Because you can correct me if I'm wrong here too. It's not only you, right, that has cystic fibrosis in your family, right? It's your sister also.
I'm the only one with CF, but my sister is one of my biggest supporters, and my mother is a saint for dealing with me for all the years she had to before I finally moved out. And I feel like the CF Foundation provided immense resources for her, especially at the time of diagnosis. It was still kind of new. The CF Foundation was going through changes then, but they were always very helpful. The local chapter has always had somebody here to answer questions, to help with fundraising, to run fundraisers, to make sure that the families were set up well. To put you in touch with somebody at the national level if you needed more help, to explain how the treatment pipeline worked, what was coming out. And my sister, she's now heavily involved with the National Foundation too, here at the local level. So for my family, the CF Foundation has always been like a pillar for my family.
Yeah, that's great, right? I mean, that's exactly what families need access to, especially when families are learning that their kids may, be diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. I'm sure the first thing, like, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
At a loss.
Yep. And I mean, where's the first place everybody turns is cff.org. That's the quickest way to get your information and learn what the heck is CF. So, and Amy, like you said, literally I learned at a young age through the CF Foundation that every penny really does count. Every penny that you donate towards these foundations really does count. And it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's good to see that Cystic Fibrosis the foundation has really come a long way in utilizing those funds. Like, they're being properly used. I mean, they're changing people's lives. And as you mentioned earlier, the Trikafta is limited on the patients that it can help currently. So the continued research, the continued fundraising will help, because there's still, I think you said 1,500, right? Is that the
So
1,700 mutations.
So the nice thing too about the CF website is they have a drug pipeline, so you can literally go on there, click, and see what's in the works, what's going through FDA trials right now. And what I love about that is you pretty much see how your money's working, right? So the money you donate, you can see these pipelines being updated and what's in the works to help the next round of mutations, which is awesome because, like I said, I knock on wood that I've been so blessed to be able to take this drug, but there's so many people that have not, and to see those updates come to them is huge, and they're starting to test this on kids now too. So to get ahead at that point in life from 6 to 12 to say, hey, I can take this drug and be really healthy going up, then you already have that mindset of what you need to do for your future so that oh crap, I got to save money all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. So now, I mean, obviously, it's kids that are just now being diagnosed with it have a little bit different planning strategy than those
exactly.
who are just later on, where like the Trikafta is brand new to them, and they're already like midway through their life, what it was expected to be to begin with. So.
I just have to say the work of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is remarkable. And Kyle, just with all of those stories about just what they've accomplished, I mean, that to me, science and research and technology being so impactful on the lives of so many, and yet we're not even close to being finished in those accomplishments, in those innovations. And all the more reason, like, the work of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation isn't done. It's not nearly done. So much to be cheering and celebrating and knowing that we still have a lot of work to do too. So that all the more reason for the funding and the fundraising and the, you know, resource management and all of that. So just that's unbelievable, you know, to hear those stories.
It really is. And it sounds odd to say, but I'm so glad to be a part of this community because you really do see the work working, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that there's still so much more to go, but you've seen it work here. So you know we're going to get there.
You at least seeing progress. You know,
Right.
it's nice.
Right.
Sometimes you feel like you're donating money and you're like, I don't hope
Right.
it helps. I don't know. I
Right,
don't know
exactly.
I don't know what's going on with this money. It's like you can't track the dollar along the way.
Right. And I mean, there's a thousand people every year born diagnosed with CF. So it's still a growing problem, you know, and those people can be born into these other strains. Some of them are going to be lucky and born into the mutations that we have this out for now. What they're working on right now is, I'm going to forget the name of it because it's super sciencey. But they're basically what they're calling a cure. It's the gene reversal. And that's starting to head down the pipeline. And that will probably, it'll start out the same way. It'll be available for the well-known mutations. That's in like phase 1 right now. So that's huge news. You know, they're phase 1 trialing what they're considering the actual cure. This was Trikafta was called the miracle drug. It's going to help these people. Now they're calling this next actual genetic fix the cure, which is crazy.
It's
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Well, cool. So I think you know, with the last few minutes here, I want to say if there's anything else that you would like to share, feel free to share away. You know, we can start to wrap up here, and then you know, we can do a little outro.
Well, like I said, I hope you have a huge turnout on October 8th. I thank you for letting me join you tonight. Amy, thank you for joining us, and thank you for what your foundation is doing, or what your winery is doing, rather. Kyle,
I think we need to do a toast, because it is absolutely the work that the three of us are doing that brings us together. You know, three strangers just a few weeks ago, and now we're sitting here with a common cause, a common purpose. So making a difference, right? To sit at our table, our virtual table tonight, and be able to learn, to be able to share stories, to be able to care and show our passion, and contribute to a greater good, to make other people's lives better. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing on this earth, you know, like that's what this job is so great. I'm honored to be with the two of you. So cheers to both of the Kyles.
Cheers. Yeah, cheers.
For our collaboration and nourishing the future and making the world a better place.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, thank you to the both of you for joining tonight. It really has been an absolute pleasure having a conversation with the both of you, and seeing how we're all really trying to play a part. And just like you were mentioning, that's how I see that. That's why we're on this earth, you know, to be selfless and start thinking of others, and really build a community of support partners that we can help, you know, help people, you know, feel like they're being heard and that there is some support, whether they're living with cystic fibrosis or, you know, anything else that's out there as well. So, you know, as a closing tonight, again, thank you for all of those who have made it this far with us. We hope that you understand and have learned a little bit tonight on what it's like for folks like Kyle and other people that are living with cystic fibrosis, and what the changes that have happened in the recent years with the research and drugs that are being introduced to help them live a better quality life, and just literally helping them breathe. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. Some of the stuff that we can take for granted from day to day, like for Amy and myself, it may be easy just to wake up in the morning, roll over, you know, breathe like a normal being. But sometimes those are things we take for granted because, you know, with learning about cystic fibrosis, that's the biggest thing, is that I'm thankful every day that I can wake up and that I can and not live with any, you know, degenerate, you know, like a disease that's really making my day worse, or making it hard to live on a day to day, even though it does become a normal part of your life, which has become in the past. So, you know, just being thankful for what we have, and again, just offering support to people out there. So, you know, with that being said, you know, there's different ways that you can help us continue to meet my fundraising goal. Obviously the purpose of this is so that you understand a little bit more about who ONEHOPE Wine is. We have an event link that you can order bottles of wine from, which we hope that you do. And I think that they're going to be donating a portion of those proceeds to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and helping me reach my goal. There's also, you can donate directly if you're not a wine connoisseur, if you're not, don't think about only obviously yourself for wine. Think about people that you love that may love wine. You want to buy gifts for. If you run a business, obviously reach out to Amy as well, and then she'll, there's different gift baskets for employee appreciation. So there's many different ways. It's not just about the one bottle. But it's about the change that can be made and what those proceeds can go towards the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Otherwise, there is a direct link that I'll post as well with this video directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, my donation page, which we're accepting donations, again, $1, $2, $5, $25, $100, $1,000, whatever your pocketbook will let you go with without straining any relationships, obviously. So yeah, we hope that you can donate, help me get to my goal and help really change the lives of those living with cystic fibrosis. We thank you for your time tonight. Again, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Amy, so much for sharing about each of you, Amy sharing your business with ONEHOPE Wine and Kyle sharing your story with us with cystic fibrosis tonight. So with that being said, cheers to all of you, and we will see you at the in-person event next week. We're really looking forward to it, so we hope you can make it. All right, all the best. Take care.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.